Hey friends, Dawn here, welcoming you to the Soul Goals podcast and year number 3. This year, we are diving into expanding our perspectives, challenging our belief systems, and working the mental and emotional muscles of our souls. Though still all about growth and connection, this year finds opportunities to hear from people in our communities that have walked a path that might be different from our own, but that ultimately present us with the chance to look at a subject in a different light and learn other ways we could approach challenges in our own world. Let's get to it. Hi, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the Soul Goals podcast. My name is Dawn. I'm so glad you're joining today, and I'm extremely glad to have my friend Darryll Stinson in the virtual video house today. Darryll, how are you?
I'm awesome, man. I'm ready to rock.
Let's go. We're going to talk about all things confidence, and I really wanted to bring you on to have this conversation because I feel like when you say the word confidence, it has so many connotations. It's far reaching. It means so many different things for so many people. But primarily, I wanted you to share a little bit about what it is that it means to you, your walk through your life, and how it has ebbed and flowed for you and where you are now. Because I met you and your wife probably close to a year ago now through one of your networking events, through the Seeding Greatness platform that the two of you have together. You co-founded that a few years ago. It's amazing. Let me back up just a minute and let the listeners know exactly who you are, because it's nothing to sneeze at, just saying. You're a keynote speaker, right? I mean, an impactful keynote speaker, not just a keynote speaker. I've heard you speak multiple times. It's very impactful. That's again a cheesy kind of word, but it's meaningful. I think you're a very meaningful speaker that brings a lot of authenticity to what it is that you're saying. And I think that's what drives people to go, I want to know you more. I want to hear more about what it is you have to say, and let's connect. And ideally, connection is what we're all here to do. It's what we're wired for ultimately. So besides just being this amazing keynote speaker, you are also an executive coach. You help people tell their stories. You teach them how to speak and how to communicate in the way that is authentic for them in their lives. Like I said, you're the co-founder with your beautiful wife, Brittany, of the Seeding Greatness Network and the Seeding Greatness platform. You also are the host of the Seeding Greatness podcast, which, dude, you've had some great people on there, some really good conversations. I was perusing through that the other day. Like, awesome stuff. Like, tell me a little bit about that. I mean, like, I know podcasting is a little bit, it's all over the place, but what got you into that one?
Man, I always had a love for podcasting. I love watching Oprah. I love even watching back in the day Jerry Springer. Just
Love
talk
that.
shows, Maury. I was a talk show guy. I found it intriguing to be entered into a world outside of my own. I had tough upbringing, and didn't feel like I fit in a lot of places. So entertainment was my escape. And because I was a creative thinker and intellectual, I didn't want to just watch movies all day. I wanted to watch something that stimulated my mind. And what I liked about Jerry Springer was not actually the drama or a lot of stuff that made the show successful, but it was the fact that it was a lot of conflict resolution, and it was like
Mm,
resolving things that most people did not want to resolve. And I think that's at the core of even our world's problems, is that like people just don't want to like have the crucial conversation. And so, we end up avoiding and not becoming who we're meant to be and not building in ways we're meant to build because we simply are divided amongst each other instead of united as humanity.
totally agree with that. There's
Mhm.
our first mic drop moment of the conversation. I'm just going to let everybody know. That's a big one. And because of all of that life experience that you've had, we're going to dive into that here in a minute. I think that authenticity and you being real about who you are and what you bring to the table, and even saying that conflict resolution is at the heart of a lot of our interactions and our meaningful connection with people, that's really valuable. And I think people step away from that. And when we don't really dive into that kind of deeper work, then we negate the fact of confidence. We don't feel confident in our bodies because we don't feel like we're being able to say what we need to say, communicate what we need. And it's all about, how do you feel and how your story is being told in a respectful, relatable way that meets everybody where they are, basically. I want to say too, but before we get too deep into this, dude, your TEDx talk on overcoming rejection has over 2 million views on it. Guys, if you haven't watched it, go tune into it now. So good. 2 million views, Darryll. That's a big deal. Coming from Michigan, right? Your upbringing, where you started at. Let's just jump in. Tell people who you are, where you come from. I
Hmm.
mean, if we talk about confidence when you were younger, where did that lie for you? Was it
Hmm.
there? Was it part of
Oh,
you? Was it in the moment? Where was it?
it, I mean, I think I came in the world extremely confident. I was probably overly confident. I had a big head and a big ego. My I was like one of the most popular kids in school. My mom put me in accelerated learning classes when I was growing up, so it made me one of two black students in most of my classes.
Mhm.
And in other classes, I was the only black student, and it actually worked in my favor. I stuck out; everyone knew me, and it wasn't just because I was black and tall. It was also because I was smart as crap. People were
Yeah.
cheating off my test, and so I was just like the most popular guy everybody wanted to be around. And I was coming down the hallway one day, and there was this group of black students that were just like cracking jokes. And when I essentially inserted myself and asked them what they were, laughing about, one of the kids turned towards me and said, "You're what's funny, white boy." And they
Oh,
all
wow.
like laughed, and it was like, I was in, I think, fourth grade or so at the time, and it was like the first time in my life that my little ego bubble got popped, and that I was like, hey, you're not great. Something is wrong with your authentic self. Like, it's causing you to be made fun of. People are talking behind your back. There was all these rumors that I was like homosexual, even though I wasn't. And it was a lot to deal with as a fourth grader who wanted to be liked. And so
Yeah, right.
it tanked my confidence. It made me question everything about myself. And that time we used to watch a lot of Bill Nye, the science guy, in class. You remember Bill Nye, the science guy?
Yes. Yeah, I love Bill Nye. You're taking me to the
So
Wayback Machine right now.
yeah, so I loved Bill Nye, but I hated the moment that we were getting ready to watch Bill Nye because it required us to turn off the TV, or excuse me, turn off the lights so that we could roll the little TV in on a cart. And
Yep.
then the lights go off, and every time, here comes the joke. Where did Darryl go? All we can see is his teeth and his eyes. And so,
Darryl.
there was this insecurity about my skin color. I've got a big gap
Mhm.
in my middle teeth. So, kids used to try to kick paper footballs through my wide gap. And so, it created all these insecurities, that the way that I talk, me being my personality, my skin color, my teeth, like
Mhm.
everything's wrong with me. So I had
Mhm.
all these like insecurities. I had suicidal thoughts early as a kid. On top of
Mhm.
that, my mom and dad were always struggling, fighting amongst one another, never could really afford the stuff. Life was just always stressful. It was like,
Right.
I need to register for AAU basketball. How are we going to get there? How are we going to pay for it? Oh, I need to, go to this game, or I need new shoes, or we got $200 that's due. And it was like, wow, how, help, borrow, rob Peter to pay Paul. Like, it was just
Yeah.
always stressful. So, growing up, that just created a lot of lack of confidence. And the only thing that I feel like I had going for me was, one, my grandmother was a church going grandmother, so she prayed a lot. And the other thing was that I was a really great athlete, man. My dad, side of the family, athletics runs all through there. And so I was becoming better and better at primarily football, basketball, and track and field. And
Mhm.
so it was giving me this like social acceptance that I wasn't getting for who I actually authentically was. Like people liked me because they thought I was going to be a professional athlete, not because they thought I was cool. And I knew that.
Who you were, yeah. Yeah. Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So you
Uh-huh. I was
recognized that.
oh, totally. Because these were the same people that didn't even like me, made fun of me. And then all of a sudden I scored 20 points in a game, or I like outran somebody, or I was in the front page of the newspaper. And then they're like, yo, Stitch, what up? And I'm like, whoa,
Mhm.
you're the person that literally was going to jump me because you wanted to take my lunch money and thought that I was like a punk because I was a creative, like it was just
Yeah,
like you're not actually my friend. You laughed at me and called me lame because I laugh with a high pitch, and I'm the butt of your jokes every time you're not standing in front of my face. And
yeah,
so, and it wasn't always behind your face. A lot of it was to your face, which is worse.
yeah,
So
absolutely.
man, I accepted it. I dealt with the tension of the fact that people I had these false relationships in my life. I had people who were best friends with me who I knew weren't really my best friends, didn't
Mm,
like me because I was being a version of myself that wasn't me. So I was like, I know
yeah,
they don't like me because this isn't who I am. I'm like singing songs I don't like. I'm talking in vernacular I don't talk in. I'm dumbing down my intellect. I'm making poor decisions that I really don't like. I'm literally stealing from cars and like selling drugs, skipping school. I love school. I wanted to have perfect attendance. So I wasn't being my authentic self because when I was teased. But when I was this other way, they were like, oh, you cool, hang out, come, invited me to the party. So, man, you would think that because I was at the parties that I was developing more confidence, but I was actually developing less confidence in myself because I was like, the more that they liked this false version of me, the more terrible the real version of me felt the entire time. It was like, dude, if y'all like him so much and I'm not him, you
you're
definitely ain't gonna like
definitely
me.
not gonna like me, yeah,
Totally.
absolutely. Yeah, and
Hmm.
that just negates everything that your identity is as a whole. I think it's really interesting, Darryll, because, like, you bought into that, and I think we all buy into those situations because we all want to be accepted, we all want to be seen, we all crave being heard and valued, and at a very formative age, when you're in a house that's so filled with chaos, like you talked about, like, what are
Hmm.
you gonna look to? You're gonna look to something that's steady. Look for something
Okay.
that's, like, meaningful, and in
Hmm.
your intellect and your brain at that point is like, this is where I find value. Someone's finding value in me, and I'm gonna be whatever I have to be to find value in it, and I don't care about my freaking confidence. It doesn't matter because this is what really is gonna help me, like, ideally. So
Hmm.
let's talk a little bit about where that got you. As an athlete, you went on to play Division 1 football, and go down that path. How was
Yeah.
that a deliverer, a blessing and a curse for you?
Well, it was a blessing because it got me out of the hood. I was around a lot of. I told people I had the opportunity. I got offered. I lost the scholarships, but my you can call it like my I don't know. My best scout offer was from Michigan State University. They offered me a gray shirt, which is I would have to basically wait a semester to go to school, so I would be counted in the next years in scholarship numbers because they had given away all their scholarships, and
Yeah.
they offered their last basketball scholarship to Draymond Green. He was ranked number one in the state. I was ranked number three in basketball, and I wanted to go somewhere where I could play football and basketball. Michigan State was one of the top schools that would have allowed me to do that. So Izzo, was like, cool, you can come play for us. And then the football team was like, we will offer you a gray shirt because we were all out of our scholarship pool. They actually found out about me way too late. Just because I wasn't like out there a lot because of, financially, it's hard to be seen when you're like not in a team that's like going to the championship. And we had terrible coaching in high school. So we never
Mhm.
advanced far enough for me to get on the radar. I got on the
Yeah.
radar because I played summer sports. And then they were like,
Yeah.
oh, this dude is phenomenal. So, anyways, So it allowed me to get out of, well, I was going somewhere with that. What I was saying is I had this offer at Michigan State. I also had another offer of Eastern that I ended up taking, and then I switched to Central Michigan University on signing day. It's hilarious.
Oh my
Uh,
goodness,
I know,
Darryll.
I know, I know, I know. Eastern
I didn't
Michigan
know
was
that.
so pissed.
Wow.
Oh my God, they were so pissed. But in my gut, I was like,
Ooh,
I don't want to go to Eastern. I
yeah.
just they had the worst, the lesser basketball team, the lesser football team. So I was like, that was the best decision in terms that I could have made. And the reason why I didn't stay and go to Michigan State is because if I would have stayed in the community, I was gonna go to jail. I was gonna, be
Mm,
killed. I was like not in safe situations. And so
yeah.
I accepted Central Michigan University primarily, not because they were my first choice, but primarily because they were the ones that, would allow me to come to school immediately. Like I wouldn't even have a summer. So it
Yeah.
was a blessing because it got me out of that. It was a curse because it perpetuated me hiding who I was. I was hiding behind high performance athletics because the
Mhm.
more successful I was in sports, the less people cared about who I actually was as a person. Nobody was actually being like, "Are you really you?" They were just so caught up in the facade of like where I was going professionally. So I played my freshman year. I was on pass rush packages. I played defensive end. So I went on football scholarship, and I did go to play both football and basketball. But they saw I was going to be much, much better sooner. So they were like, "No more basketball for you." We lied to get you
Yeah.
to come
We're
here.
going
And
this
then
way. Oh,
I
wow.
know. They didn't want me to get
Uh-huh.
hurt playing basketball, and then I got hurt playing football, which is hilarious. So I got hurt,
Yeah.
had to have back surgery, emergency back surgery, or my left leg was going to go paralyzed because of all the atrophy and the deterioration from a pinched nerve in my back.
Mhm.
So I had double appendectomy surgery, and I came back after that surgery and earned a starting position within 6 months because I was addicted to opioids. I, was using these to numb my pain. I was manipulating the healthcare system, getting multiple epidural shots in my back. I was doing acupuncture about 3 to 5 days a week, physical therapy 7 days a week, twice a day. I was doing nerve killings in my back, opioid pills, lots of marijuana, just to numb this pain because I was like, I just got to get an NFL contract, and then I'll get like a doctor who can just like basically like rebuild everything, like because I got like somebody that's worth like millions of dollars or something. And I
Mhm.
just never made it. My body was failing. I was a former version of myself, so I was always starting and performing decently, but it was like I wasn't a star anymore.
Yeah.
um, and I couldn't let it go. And so I was just taking so many opioid pills that they were thinning my blood. And I was having a lot of nosebleeds during practices from like just constantly having like thin blood and making collision. And the
Yeah.
coaches, like, that's how they caught on, like, hey, this guy's like doing something that he's not supposed to do. So I was hiding all of this stuff from them because I was paying for all of these procedures and opioid pills out of pocket with drug money. So I was going
Yeah.
all throughout the state of Michigan, selling primarily weed and Adderall to a bunch of college campuses and a couple of community drop off spots. And
Mhm.
I literally was living like that for 2 years. And so, coaches was like, something's going wrong. This guy's always busy. He's always gone. And he's always like, his eyes are bloodshot. His nose is always bleeding. And they were like, we're going to get in trouble, even though I signed a liability waiver. So they kicked me off the team going into my senior year. So I didn't get to like have a senior season. And I went through a depression. I lost like 50 pounds in 4 weeks trying to starve myself to death. I started trying to like all these attempts to in my life, with all the like pills and drugs I was using. And I ended up in a psychiatric unit in Detroit because my mother essentially escorted me there, or like when I could barely open my eyes because I've been crying for like 2 days straight. I found faith there. Two people came to witness to me about Christ, and I was agnostic at the time. So it gave me hope. It gave me like a sense that I'm here for a reason. And
Yeah.
then I had to sit in there for a couple of days and do journal entries and see a counselor for the first time in my life and feel my emotions. And it changed my life. It was like, oh
Yeah.
my God, like I did my first mindfulness exercise, and I slowed down enough to connect with like all this like like emotion I was avoiding feeling, which is like, Darryll, you're so scared to be who you are. You don't want to lead. You don't want to speak. You don't want to show people who you really are because you got rejected and made fun of and teased. And but
Mm.
this is why you're here. This is why God put you here. And I tell people I left that place like Clark Kent become Superman. Like I was like, I feel like I was wasting, I feel like I wasted like my middle school, high school, and college. Like I feel like I
Oh,
wasted it.
Darryl.
Oh, I
Darryl.
know. I know. It was bad. So I literally locked myself in the library for like 8 hour days, 12 hour days. And I would just stay in there all day. Ooh, this makes me emotional. I was staying there all day and I was like, you got to make up for lost time. You got to catch up. You've been running from
Mhm.
God. You've been running from your purpose. You haven't been taking your life and your calling seriously. Catch up. And so I was like in this library, just only like literally, I'm talking about private study room. I'm reading study Bibles. I'm reading leadership books. I'm reading like everything I can read. I'm like, I'm catching up from like being high all middle school,
Mm.
high all high school, high all college. And God literally said to me, the scripture that he is able to redeem the time that this version of it said that the cankerworm and the locust have stolen. And there was this other scripture that talked about him being the author of time. And I was like, he exists outside of time. And he could do in a year what I was trying to do and make up for having not done it in a decade. And I
Yeah.
literally melted and was like, okay, God, accelerate the time and he did. I got a
Mm.
job
Yeah.
working in higher education. I ended up winning awards as part of that team for rebranding the university and also a newsletter campaign that we did. I left there and became a marketing consultant and did a donor developer at a United Way. We launched a youth venture pitch competition that's still going on like 10, 12, 13 years later. I then started speaking both as a pastor at a church on this, small little events and a lot of like fellowship of Christian athletes stuff. And then
Yeah.
doing a marketing consulting professionally for corporate organizations. And I did that for years until finally I did that TED Talk. And that TED Talk was the first time that my personal overcoming suicide story was like in the public, like corporate facing, view,
Mhm.
because it had only
Mhm.
been like in my like church, like fellowship of Christian athletes meeting. It was like I talked about marketing, not suicide, And so this
Yeah.
story
Yeah.
was like, oh no, it's out there. And I had a wardrobe malfunction. I didn't share the talk when it came out. And then because one day I woke up to an email at like 2 in the morning from some lady from Ireland that told me that she reconciled her relationship with her estranged son because she watched my talk. And I went and said, oh, people are watching this thing. And it was 60,000 views. And I said, my ego is in the way of my impact. I'm so worried about my image. I'm not committed to my impact. And so I said, stop worrying about how you look. Stop worrying about the wardrobe malfunction that you had. Stop worrying about the 2.5 minutes that you left out of your speech. Stop worrying about the fact that you didn't actually like bring your full voice because you were too scared. You just played it safe. You wore your stupid glasses. And just be okay with the fact that it is a helpful message to somebody else. Somebody might need to hear it. And if I focus on my impact instead of my image, oh, God can do a lot with a little. And when I let that go, I'm telling you, 60,000, 80,000, 100,000, 120,000, 140,000, 220,000. People started sharing my videos, making motivational clips out of them. I started getting requests to speak. I got booked with the largest college agency. I started getting asked to do corporate talks and other talks that I'd never done in camps and masterminds. People start asking me, who helped to coach you on your talk? And I was like, me, myself, and I. And
Darryl.
it was actually me. It was a guy named Tucker who helped me with my idea, and it was a lady that was an old she taught plays and stage right. Her name was Myrna. She helped me practice so that my voice. And she would sit there and be like, loosen up, loosen up. And so she helped me loosen up. So whenever somebody sees me doing all this on stage, I'm like, that's Myrna, baby. And so it was
Oh.
like, so people were like, man, can you help me? And I was like, I think so. I've coached people. I like communication. I do consulting. So I think I can coach you on your speech. Can I? Oh my God. And I was helping them open up and drop the script and get out of Toastmasters and stop trying to read somebody else's, way that they say they should
Mhm.
open it. And they were dancing and coming out and speaking what they
Mhm.
want to, and saying it how they mean it and meaning it how they say it. And it was like more of that. And so then I referral. And then some of our speakers got top 10 of all TEDx talks released in all year. And then some of our speakers started getting booked on some major stages and launching books or doing projects. And then we had all these legacy people. That was like this 78-year-old lady, Dr. Michio, who I'm thinking of, who was like, look, I don't care if I ever have 100 views. I didn't have children. Oof, this makes me, oof. So I didn't have, I wasn't able to have children. And she said, so this message that I have about how she, left her country as a woman who was being heavily oppressed, came to America, became, a thought leader of her own right, have her own radio, virtual television show, uh, launched programs, does healing work, etc. And she wanted to do this talk or TED talk, literally just she saw it as her child. She said, since I
Wow.
was not
Wow.
able to have children, this is my legacy. And
Right.
so we've helped people that didn't care about the views or any of that other stuff and just wanted to have it, make sure it was a true reflection in a mirror, to use a shared word, our soul, our
Mhm.
soul. And so when you talk about the
Yes.
Soul Goals podcast,
Mhm.
it's our soul knows the goal that of our existence. Our soul knows the goal of our existence. Our soul knows why we're here. And it's like the goal is to go after. And yes, you're right. It does require confidence. I like to say Godfidence is when you can't be confident in yourself, you got to be confident in the God who created you. And there was early on where I had to borrow somebody else's belief in me before I even believed in myself. I couldn't willpower myself to confidence. I couldn't like look myself in the mirror and tell myself I am enough. I couldn't repeat another mantra, watch another Tony Robbins video. I literally had to borrow God's confidence in me. And God seemed to be extremely confident in me. He was like, you're fearfully and wonderfully made. He's like, you the head, not the tail. He was like, if you ask, you shall receive. And I was over here like, but no, I'm struggling and broke. And I was like, uh-oh, I'm in my confidence and not in God confidence. And then one of my mentors, David Meltzer, taught me that when we wake up, there's three worlds that we can decide to live in every single day. One
Okay.
is the world of not enough. Two is the world of just enough. Three is the world of more than enough. And the difference between what world we live in is the choice we make in the morning. It's like I get to choose
Ooh.
today. Am I going to live in the world of not enough, of just enough, or of more than enough? And wherever I choose to go in, just like Disney, am I going to Epcot? Okay. If I choose to go to Epcot, I'm gonna get all Epcot's amusements and tours and food. Okay, but if I want to go to a different park, I'd open up the front of that park. It's the same way. Am I gonna go in the park of not enough, just enough, or more than enough? And for me, I'd rather go in more than enough because guess what? It rains in more than enough. It thunderstorms in more than enough.
Oof.
Sometimes every once in a while there's tornadoes. Hey, there's mean people in the more than enough world. It's not all butterflies and rainbows, but I tell you what, it's more than enough love, more than enough resources, more than enough money. And how do you tell if you're in a world of not enough, just enough, or more than enough? I'll tell you how. How
Tell me.
you communicate.
Mm.
Out of the abundance of the heart, the mouth speaks. I can tell where you're going if I listen to what you're saying.
Yeah.
So if I go like, "Hey, how you doing today?" and I start hearing, "Not enough." Oh
Mhm.
man, just keep it on, just enough.
Yeah, yeah.
What world are you in? Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, tell me about what's your business. Well, I don't know. I'm just on it. Oh, not enough.
Wow,
Okay.
Darryll.
Now, I'll tell you this one story. Okay, and then I'll stop ranting. I was working at this
Oh,
church. I was
good.
doing a revitalization project. Me and Brittany, it was a church. They were 65 years and older. Our job as young leaders and pastors to come in, these 14 to 17 people, 65 and older. One of the drummers was deaf in one ear. Their lead vocalist was tone deaf. I'm not making this up. Their children's ministry was non-existent, had rats in it. And here we come. And their building was paid off. They had a parsonage, and they had, I don't know, some change in the bank because they had been there and been tithing, and they all were retired. And so here we come
Yeah.
trying to revitalize, bring young people in. And man, it was hard. I mean, we couldn't gain traction. We couldn't buy a visitor. I couldn't pay somebody to come see the church. It was like nobody had wanted to be there. It was dusty. It was known as this religious place. They didn't care what event that we were hosting. When they did come, they didn't come back because like the person who was singing was tone deaf.
God, Darryll. Oh my gosh.
And there was this guy named Brian Pruitt. Brian Pruitt was a former All-American running back, and he was going to be like in the first round draft pick, but he had a pinched nerve in his back, and he had became a motivational speaker. He actually had played a couple years, maybe one or two, with my father back in the day when he played at Central Michigan University. And he had this organization called the Power of Dad, and it was to help fatherless youth. And he was an amazing motivational speaker, still is to this day. And I aspired to be like him. I wanted to be around him. He was a guy, everybody knew him because he was so good in sports. And he lived in Saginaw where we were trying to revitalize this church. And I asked him if he would partner and do an event with us for Father's Day and be our keynote speaker for Father's Day, because I knew
Yeah.
people would come to hear him. And then he liked
Sure.
me and he knew my dad, so I knew he would endorse us. I was like, somebody would stick around from this event.
Sure.
And so we did that for Father's Day. And I remember I would used to meet with Brian, and I used to be like, hey, Brian, what's up? And Brian would just be like, how's it going, Darryll? And I would be like, man, it's so hard. The church, I can't grow it, man. The people keep complaining. I paint the walls. They're mad that I'm spending the money. They don't like what I'm saying. They still want to do it the old way, not the new way. And every time, Brian would just be like, all right, man, we're just hanging there, da-da-da, keep going. Well, the event's coming up. I can't wait to speak, da-da-da. And then one morning I was thinking about Brian Pruitt coming over. We're going to connect and have a meeting about the event that was coming up. And as I was praying, God literally interrupted my prayer, and he was like, hey, if you talk about your problems in the ways that you're talking about them to Brian, he's going to see you as a project. But if you talk about your possibilities, he's going to see you as a partner.
Wow.
Oh, I got chills.
It's amazing. Yeah.
So that
Yeah.
day, I literally came, Brian, here he comes. Yeah, now I get to choose, world. Not enough, just enough, more than enough now.
Mm-hmm.
I get to choose. I'm going
Yeah.
to talk about my problems or I'm going to talk about my possibilities. And let me be clear.
Mm.
My problems were real. But let me be clear. Oh, I got to be clear. Sorry to yell. So was my possibilities. So you want to
Yes.
talk about confidence? The reason why people don't have confidence is because they think that their problems are more real than their possibilities. Why? Because the problems are tangible. My bill's overdue. My money's short. The this is that. The that ain't working. I can see it. I can see the
Yes.
overdraft in my account. And I'm like, you can
Yes.
see with your physical eye. Uh-oh. But can you
Yeah.
see with your inner eye? What's possible?
Mm.
If I would have saw with my physical eye what was possible, I would have stayed in the hood. But the fact I can see with my inner eye, I can get out of this place, even if I'm an athlete and compromising, I got out of that hood. Do you understand what I'm saying to you? So sometimes
Mm.
I'm trying to tell you the reason why we don't have confidence is because we're focusing on our physical problems more than our internal possibilities. And so when that day came, he asked me how I'm doing. I felt the temptation. The church, they complain because it's so easy to
Yeah.
do the same thing. But I
Absolutely.
interrupted the pattern, and somebody on this podcast needs to interrupt the pattern. I
Oh,
interrupted the pattern,
shoot.
and I literally said, uh, you know what, man? I'm excited. This event, they hadn't hosted anything like this, a keynote speaker. What I was thinking about other athletes that we can buy in town. And what if we got some other athletes? Oh, guess what? Brian wasn't just a speaker after that meeting. He became a
Mhm.
partner. Why?
Mm.
Because I chose to be in a world of more than enough.
Yeah. Yeah. You looked at the possibilities and you focused that direction. Yeah, I think you bring
Mhm,
up a really great point because I think if finding confidence in who we are and our path and where we're supposed to be and our purpose, like our soul's goals, the goals that are innate in our DNA, when we don't know the answers, we go to the tangible things that we can see, the things that are right in front of our faces. And it's really hard to stop the press and to stop the wagons, stop the horses from going in that whole, oh my God, here we go again. Oh my God, here we go again. It's almost like we get caught up in this perpetual cycle of woe is me. Now, I mean, I feel like there is pieces of the woe is me that we have to feel. And I've told clients in the past, you have to feel the emotions that are coming up because they are indicators, messengers for a reason. However, it's the hanging on to them and it's storing them in the leg over here, and it's storing them in your shoulder over there, and it's storing them in your brain back here, and then pulling those back out when you're in a situation where you have the ability to find possibility versus I'm going to go to the old hat. I'm going to pull the old situation back out instead of stepping out and venturing into this place that's new. It's different. And I also had a therapist say the pain of change is sometimes worse than the pain of staying the same. Like we will
mhm,
stay what we know versus stepping out and taking a risk on something else because we know it. And it can be so bad. We can be in such pain internally, externally, environmentally, and we aren't
mhm,
going to leave it because we know it, because we don't know
mhm,
what's on the other side of it. So how do
mhm,
you find confidence? Because obviously faith is such a big piece for you. And it brought me to tears when you were talking. And it chills numerous times. I mean, 5 million mic drop moments in that last little bit right there, Darryll. I'm just gonna tell you. So gifted. So gifted. And you being your
mhm.
authentic self. This is what being your authentic self looks like, everybody. I just want everybody to know that. Because what you're talking about, you know, hiding behind this high functioning place is what a lot of people do. Me, I do that. We all do that. But it's checking the scope, it's checking the script, it's stopping the movement to go, all right, what is this? What does this mean? When we don't have the answers, when we can't see it, how do you find the confidence? What do you tell people? How do you tell people to stop? Like in like the example you gave with you and Brian, where you could have gone into the complaints and you stopped yourself. How did you stop yourself? I think people want to know, how do you do that? Like it sounds great, Darryll, but how do you do that?
I, you know, you said you sound like faith is a big part of it for you, is what you said. And a lot of people say that to me. And I always say, it ain't just me. Faith is not something, let me say it this way. We all have faith. It's just where are we putting our faith at? And what are we
Mhm.
putting our faith in? Faith is the substance of things hoped for and the evidence of things not seen. Like faith is people have more faith that it's not going to work out than they do faith that it is going to work out. So I remember when I was in counseling. So you asked me how this is. It's like these. I think of mindset as like a program that is on a computer.
Okay.
And it's like when you're running, like if I want to open up Zoom, I can click Zoom and the Zoom program is running. I can have Zoom open and Google Chrome open and WhatsApp open. I'm just looking at all the stuff I got open right.
Yeah. Well, it's all
I
the
can have
I know
all
what you're
that
talking
open,
about. All the tabs
right?
open. Yeah.
But they're
Yeah.
running and they're running programs. They're functioning because of the system that's set up and hardwired in these softwares. And so our mind is the same way. Our subconscious is the same way. And so I remember being in therapy and early on when I struggled with a lot of confidence and just self-esteem and um, my therapist, I was in a session, 60-minute session, and about 45 minutes into it, she said, Darryll, can I just interrupt you for a moment? Because I had told her like I don't want to do this brainwashing stuff. Like I don't want to
Mm.
look in the mirror, do positive affirmations. That's not me. That doesn't work for me. I don't do that. I don't have that. Like I'm not trying to be wishy-washy. I got to be realistic. I keep it real. I keep it 100. That's what I was telling her. And so, then I went on and was talking about, this problem and my marriage problem and all this. And then 45 minutes into the session, she was like, "Hey, Darryll, let me offer you this perspective. You say that you don't want to brainwash yourself. She said, but you've been talking for 45 minutes and you said nothing but negative things. You're already brainwashing yourself with negativity. I'm just trying to help you to switch the tape. And when she said that, it clicked for me that, and research would tell you that the average human has 70,000 thoughts per day, and
Yeah.
that the majority of those thoughts are actually repetitive.
Mhm.
Okay. And there's also, I think, a higher percentage that's negative. And all of that's running regardless of if we're aware of it or not.
Right.
This is why people have trouble slowing down, because when you slow down, you get to hear all that thoughts that's running always. And a
Mhm.
lot of people, I didn't know I had all that running in there. It's like it's running like that all the time. You're just busy.
Yeah.
And
Yep.
so, when I learned, like, so there's this software in the back of my mind that's like, what tape am I putting in?
Mm.
Am I putting in
Mhm.
the tape of positive or negative? Same thing. Remember, I told you world of not enough, just enough, more than enough. Am I putting, which one am I putting in?
Yeah, yeah.
And so I think how is like I preloaded the program. I tell myself in the morning before we start that we're gonna run program more than enough today.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? And I think people wake up, they have coffee, they don't intentionally program their mind, and they allow life to program them. Oh my God, life? You don't let life program you? Oh God.
Mm.
Have you seen life? Have you seen busyness? Have you seen distraction? Have you seen disconnection? You don't let
Mhm.
that program you? Or they
Right.
let social media program. Social media? You don't let social media program you in an
Mhm.
algorithm that's showing you all your biases. You don't let that program you. Or some
Right.
people let the news program. The news. You mean to tell me you're gonna let the news program you with all of its plays on fear and worry and doom and gloom? Have you ever noticed that the news only posts majority bad news? You don't think that there's any good news going on? You think if you woke up in a community of 10,000 people that the majority of the news is bad?
Right.
No way. You don't think nobody graduated? You don't think nobody built, invented something? You don't think somebody's
Mhm.
song got a hit record? Like the
Oh,
news is meant to trigger you. You're going to
yeah.
take your programming from the news?
Mhm.
Okay. The Netflix?
Oh.
Netflix? You going from Netflix?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. That's
So my
crazy. It's
point is
crazy.
just
We
like
do it.
choose
We
your
do it.
program. Choose your
Yeah.
program. Choose your
Yeah.
program.
Golly. I mean, that just goes right onto the fact that lies that we perpetually tell ourselves about who we are, what we can be. You go back to possibilities. And I think too, what I hear you saying a lot of is allowing yourself to step outside of a place where jumping off and having faith and trusting yourself that life is okay. You can do it. You can make these choices and being intentional about it. Being intentional. I love what you said about what the whole, it's just playing. You talk about playing in my mind right now. It's the, you know, more than not enough, just enough for more than enough. Like which tape am I going to put in the program? Which program am I going to load on my computer for this tab today to run in the background while I'm working? What's that going to be? It's such a big piece, the intentionality. So when you talk about being intentional and making a choice when you're coming from a place of, man, Darryll, life is really hard. I get it. You come from a background that was a big piece for you. It was hard for you, but you just don't understand where I'm at. How do you sit with someone that says that and go, you can find confidence. There is pieces that do matter. Like how do you invoke something out of someone or allow them to be seen, give them permission to be seen
I'm
without
gonna give
taking it
you.
on?
I'm gonna give you something that I don't think a lot of people are gonna want to hear, but it's so true. Sometimes you gotta love people enough to leave them.
Mm.
So you ask me, how do I do that? I just
Mhm.
leave. I just ignore.
Mhm.
I just keep walking. I keep
Mhm.
living. I keep inspiring. I keep doing content. but I can't carry somebody who doesn't want to carry themselves. It's impossible. It's too heavy to carry
Yep.
somebody. There's this quote that really helped me because I used to be real bad at that. Was trying to save everybody had a need to be needed. So I wanted to always save somebody. I couldn't like if I didn't felt like if I wasn't helping them, I felt like I wasn't needed. So I was always helping. And
Yeah.
there was this quote that a mind convinced against its own will is of the same persuasion still. A
Mm,
mind convinced against its own will is of the same persuasion still. So a lot of these people that I was trying to help because they were in these situations, quote unquote, asking for help. And then I realized that they're always going to ask for help if they don't like align to their purpose, if they don't like develop themselves, work on their mindset, get a therapist. It was like I was helping them to do all that, but their mind was convinced they just needed this job. Their mind was convinced they just needed somebody to give them more money. Their mind was convinced that it was their spouse. And so here I was like trying to change their mind, but a mind convinced against its own will of the same persuasion still. So I thought their life was progressing because I was carrying them. And then the moment I stopped carrying them, their life went back to where their mind already was. And I
mhm,
realized I did all of that for nothing. Now,
mhm.
did I make an impact? Did I sow some good seeds? Is their story over? Like their story's not over. I did sow good seeds. I'm not doom and glooming that story, but I am saying that I've learned and I've lived long enough to see the fruit of my life produce more change than the fruit of my lips. And I'm a speaker
Mm,
for a living.
yeah, yeah,
So I talk a lot.
crazy.
But what I
Yeah.
notice is I don't make a lot of change until people get around my life. Uh-oh. And if they get around my life and they actually know who I am and see my humanity, not just my gift of communication, I think I make way more
Mhm.
life change than what I'm saying, verbally with my storytelling ability. So I just, for me, I'm lately have been having to make the hard like leadership decision and beingness to be like, man, when people are giving me all the problems, I gotta let them believe their story. Because if I live my more than enough life enough, they will see that they are choosing to live in that world. And
Yeah.
that is one of the greatest things that I could do for them. And yes, do I say it to some people directly? Yeah. Does it work out? Almost never.
Yeah.
I said it
Well,
to
it's
a guy
hard
the
to
other day,
hear.
man. Yeah, it's really hard to hear. I heard the other guy who's kept trying to get me to like go be beta test his client program, and I was like, hey man, I'm gonna say this to you one more time. I'm not your ideal avatar.
Mhm,
I don't even know your ideal avatar.
mhm.
I know you think I know a lot of people. I do, but I don't know your avatar.
Yeah.
But you and I said, so the worst thing you could do is ask me to take this assessment because I ain't gonna be a good testimonial. And if I don't like it, you don't feel defeated. The best
Yeah.
thing you can do is to go take my advice, like I would give anybody who I was trying to help grow their business, and go get around your ideal avatar. And I'll actually give you some ideas around where I think that they hang out. Try this place,
Yeah.
try this place, try that place. Now you would think that the person would feel supported. I gave them lead generation ideas, I gave them honest opinion, and I didn't waste my time nor theirs. Um, but the person was offended. They felt like I was acting too good to go through their little thing, couldn't give them 5, 7 minutes to finish their assessment. But they didn't understand the point that they were barking up the wrong tree and that nobody has loved them enough to tell them that. So it
Yeah.
failed. But guess what? I'm gonna keep living and hope my life did better than what my lips did. Okay.
Yeah, I love that, Darryl. It's finding alignment. I think that's a big piece for a lot of people is finding that alignment and trusting the alignment. It sounds like and you're being, you said it, seeing letting people see your humanity is such a big piece. We talk about
Mhm.
trust and vulnerability. What do you
Yes.
believe? I mean, those are big words to just and trust, vulnerability, surrender. Let's just throw those three words out on the table.
Mhm.
Holy
Yeah.
crap. Those are some big words. What does that elicit when it comes to confidence? Because if I think back to everything you've talked about so far today and where you come from and what those words meant along the way and how they were like under the table, like under the bench, under the table, And how did you pick those back up? And what does that meaning have for you now? And how important do you feel those traits and those specifics are to being confident, to being your authentic self, to showing people who you are as a human, your utmost real, most real humanity? And I'm just going to tell everybody, you and your wife exhibit this on the regular, and it's going to make me
Oh,
cry because you are very impactful in that way. And I
mm,
told you absolutely, what was it? What did you say at our last meeting? You said, I preach what I practice.
mhm,
I preach what
mhm,
I practice.
mhm,
And it's
mhm.
so true. Everything that you're saying is,
You have
it
to
is
pause
so,
because people mentally they're not going to catch what you just said. Because I talk to a lot of people, they don't get that. They think that what you're saying is that I practice what I preach. That's not
no,
what I'm
it's
saying.
opposite. It's opposite.
Because
Opposite. It's opposite.
because somebody ultimately is going to say no, he doesn't, and I'm like no, and I got to explain why. Typically, when we preach, we end up saying stuff that's real time, that's timeless, that's
Mhm.
like proven, that's tested, but it doesn't mean that we get it right 100% of the time. And
Absolutely.
sometimes there's this burden as a communicator to be like, yo, you said, Darryl, live in a world of more than enough. Why are you not living in more than enough?
Because you're
Right?
human, Darryl. You're
I know.
human.
But I'm telling you, nobody cares. All they care is they heard me say it and then they see me not doing it. So they think you're a hypocrite. Now, here's what I tell people. No, 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 no. I preach what I practice. Okay. And what I mean by that is I practice it first and I teach you what I practice. I teach you what I do. The difference is that I'm not just teaching what I know. What that does for all leaders and communicators is it takes the pressure off them to be perfect because you don't just teach what you know, you teach what you do. What you know is perfect, timeless information that works for everybody. What you do is imperfect execution of these timeless principles. And so I'm often teaching people my imperfections.
Yeah. Well, you know
I
what that
told
brings up
you.
for me?
Yeah.
You're
Uh
an
huh.
athlete, right?
I
Okay. My
know.
daughters are both athletes. Do you know how many
Mm,
practices I've sat and watched them fail in? How many
I know.
games I've seen them fail in? They
I
are
know.
practicing. We
Practice.
are
Thank
human. You got to practice.
you.
That doesn't mean that they're not, like, the imperfections are a real thing. I think we
I
have to
hear you.
give grace to ourselves. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Let
Yeah.
ourselves off the hook where that's concerned. I
Yeah.
I love it. Let's talk a little bit about where confidence fits in with the this big buzzword of anxiety, because also you could be living in the choice of being anxious, being fearful, like being, oh, not being who you truly are meant to be and truly were. Like, you think back to when you were a little boy and you were hiding from who you were and the different pieces along the way, and to uncover who you really are and to really authentically live that takes hope, takes faith. And sometimes there's fear and anxiety attached to that confident building place. Do you think confidence can exist in the same soup bowl as fear and anxiety?
Yeah, it's like the yin and the yang of life. It's like it always coexists. In fact, you usually some people are the most confident where they are the most afraid. It's
Oh,
like
that's good.
because they
Wait.
have
Say that
so
again.
much. Some people are
Say,
the most confident where they're the most afraid. You know, it's like it's a lot. A lot of speakers are actually introverts. It's like because it's like at the core of this fear, the other side of it is like I have to have that equal amount of courage in order to do it. So it's like now I tap into bigger confidence, but I had a bigger insecurity. So
mm-hmm.
it's to me it's like just two sides of the same coin.
Yeah, it can exist. It's interesting. And then let's talk about gratitude, because I hear you being so filled with gratitude, and I think that's a big part of what you practice. And I think that's integrious, and I think that's important and such a big piece of building confidence within your life, within your days, and within your choices. Ultimately, and we go back to the, what am I going to be? Not enough, just enough, more than enough. You know, gratitude
Yeah.
has to be woven in that piece. Tell me a little bit about what that means to you.
Gratitude for me is a heart opener. So we talk about like having like your head space, your heart space, your gut. grounding with your feet. It's like, uh, gratitude opens my heart space.
Mm,
And, for me, my practice of gratitude was like, I had got really, tired of this being like, in my growing up, they're like, thank the Lord for waking you up this morning. Thank you for the sunshine. Thank you for my family. Thank you for, and I know people are going to be like, Darryll, you're not grateful for those things. And I was like, hey, I am grateful for those things. It just didn't open my heart anymore.
yeah.
I was like, I was kind of like, I know I should be more grateful, but I kind of taken it for granted. I ain't gonna lie to you. So I had to find something I was authentically grateful for. And then I would go, like, I would breathe and I would feel. I would go, you know what I'm grateful? I'm grateful for that moment today where my daughter smiled at me and said dada so much louder than she said mama, like, and my heart opened and it worked because I found something that I was authentically grateful for, not something that I felt like I had to be grateful for. And
Mm,
so, to me, it's a practice of like what actually opens my heart. It's not just the discipline that I checked the box and said I was grateful for 10 things every day.
yeah. Yeah,
Mhm.
that's a humanness. That's a really human comment right there. And I agree with you. I think people are going to go, "Oh, well, like, yeah, Darryll, you're not thankful for this." It's not either or. It's and. Like it's and.
Mhm.
Put
Mhm.
the and in
Mhm.
there.
Yeah.
What are some ways that listeners can connect with you, that maybe they can
Yeah.
reach out to you, be involved in your networking events, kind of get to know you a little bit better, get to know your wife, maybe work within your events, maybe just, invite you into their process to maybe help coach them or to work with them
Mhm.
in some capacity?
Totally, man. I tell people DarrylStinson.com. That's usually like my speaking, me, like personal coach, advisor. Seeding Greatness is our entire movement. That's where like our community is, our opportunities to collaborate. That's where you inquire about being on the podcast, like all the good things. That's where you meet Don. So that's it, man. SeedingGreatness.com or DarrylStinson.com or at Stinson Speaks on all platforms.
Yeah.
I'm Googleable.
Yeah, you are. It's great. And one last thing, if you could leave the listeners with one little tidbit about building confidence in this week, this moment, what is one thing that is memorable on your heart, on your mind, on your soul that brings that has helped change you along the path that you can go to in your system, if you will?
Um, hmm. I think, this is the Soul Goals podcast. So I think my final thought essentially is like when you get quiet and still, even if just for 2 minutes, it becomes obvious that your soul has a goal, that there's a purpose for its existence, that you are here for a reason. Like you're not an accident, you're not an afterthought. It's not too late. You're not too old. You're not too
Mm,
broken. You're not too bankrupt. You haven't been burned too many times. If your soul's still here, traveling its journey, it's here for a reason. And everyone listening to this, that's true for all of us. And so, my final sentiment is like, know that that is true and it's louder than any other narrative that we would tell ourselves. And if we can attune to our purpose, our goal, our reason for being here, I mean, we will find our path. And so I hope that these stories, my witty humor, my D1 crazy stern preacher stomping foot
it's a
help
big
help help
yeah.
somebody to really feel like, oh, you know what, I am here and my purpose might be different. I might not communicate like Darryll, I might not hold space like Don or interview like Don, but man, I got a gift, and man, I got a story, and man, I got a calling.
Mm,
And so that would be my last thing is like, if you're here, it's for a reason, and
yeah.
don't let anything tell you different.
Amen, brother. You're more than enough.
Yes.
More than enough. I love it. Thank you, Darryll. Hi to Brittany. Hug your
Thank
beautiful little
you.
sweet baby. Oh my God, 5 gorgeous children. Love them
Mhm.
all. Can't wait to see you guys in a few weeks at your next event. And yeah, have a great day. All right.
Thank you.